it going, Mike?
Phenomenal. How about you?
Can't complain.
Great. Sorry, my voice is going. We just got off the practice field, so we're getting after it a little bit.
No worries. Since you took over play calling duties, how much, maybe percentage-wise, have you taken out of the original book, and how much have you installed?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, with such limited time, it's hard to just take everything out and redo everything. You know, so we really haven't taken out and added a lot. You know, we've tried to just kind of just do what we've done, but yet maybe kind of put some wrinkles on it a little bit to simplify some things, taking out some things to kind of protect us in areas that we need to be protected. And so, and then, you know, obviously we all have some ideas and we all game plan week in and week out. So there's always going to be new things that you add based upon situational things. But so we'll continue to do that. And we did that last week, but just doing an overhaul of the whole thing it was completely impossible right now to do that. So we're just trying to do what's best for our players.
How you doing, sir?
You look great. Is that like a little peach sweatshirt you got going on there?
It might be pink.
Love it.
I've been told.
I love it. That's pretty good.
Thanks. When you look back to last week's game, obviously, tale of two halves, so to speak. How do you separate the two halves from, you know, first, second, good, bad, and all that? How do you kind of draw the line between those two?
Yeah, it's really one word. I mean, if you go back and watch the film, and of course, I wanted to right away because I just wanted to make sure that I saw what I saw going through the game, you know, from the first half and the second half and reviewing the iPad in between series and things like that. But it really is just one word. It's just execution. You know, when you look at the first half last week, we were very explosive and we were making plays. We were taking our shots and we were completing our shots. We had some trick plays in there that we were doing. You know, we completed some trick plays. And then obviously just the things that we wanted to do consistently, we were just getting some big gains out of it and moving the ball, and which creates energy, right? All that stuff and having fun and the guys flying around creates energy. And I think what happened in the second half, just going back and looking at all of it, I think in the first half we were like 5 for 6 and really like called shots, you know. And one's a big touchdown. Two of them are big touchdown, one to Dre, one to Nick. Obviously he took the one that we got out of the pocket and he took it for 80. And then had some other ones. We made some, you know, we had 14 explosives in that game last week, which is, you know, that's a pretty good stat to have. When you go back and look at the second half, I think we were like 2 for 7 in our shot plays, you know, 2 for 7 in the chunk plays, what we would call. And I think when we didn't hit those, then that puts you back in, you know, second and third and long. And that's not the game that you wanted to live in. And so we definitely executed way better in the first half than the second half. And I think the other thing, too, is I think I got a little bit too aggressive. You know, I thought maybe just from a play calling standpoint where trying to just put the game away at times, if that makes sense. And so learning lesson for me and going through this process and continue to grow in that area. But and protecting those guys instead of just trying to put the game away and get some points and do something like that, just making sure we're better fit for that and stick to the plan. But the one word is just execution. We hit a couple of those big explosives in the second half. We just get one of them. You know, that whole game has changed from a time standpoint. And so that's the two tails of those halves.
Hey, Mike, two-part question for you. What was your reaction when you found out you were going to be the primary play caller for the rest of the season here?
Yeah.
And then, you know, Shane's got a big decision to make with this hire after the season.
Yep.
For you personally, what would it mean to you to have that interim tag lifted off and you become the full-time OC?
Well, you guys know me well enough. I've been around this business a long time as a player and as a coach now that my job is what I do on a daily basis right now. My job right now is to make sure that I get our guys best prepared for this weekend and to try to put them in the best position to have fun and go out and coach Sean and I and Black and all these other guys on this offensive staff to go out every day and try to make improvements and try to get these guys to continue to develop. Like, that's our job, right? It's not about the future. It's not about what's next week. It's not about what's down the road. But I was excited, you know, when Coach called me in his office and said he had made a change and you know, wanted me to call the plays and wanted to know if I was okay with that, and which I responded yes. I mean, I was definitely up for that task and felt like I could help the guys out and help him out, which is obviously all why we're here, is to help him out and help this program win. And we've all become, you know, fell in love with South Carolina to help this school out, but totally excited. it's a big task, trying to get this thing flipped around and in all different areas and trying to find the best players to put on the field and put them in the best position. And thought the staff did a heck of a job last week preparing our guys, and I thought our guys were way prepared. But we'll continue to do that this week, headed towards Coastal, and finish that up tomorrow and seal it up by the time we get to Saturday. But listen, I live day to day, and I believe in somebody upstairs that controls all that. So that'll be stuff that we'll play out down the road. My job right now is to make sure these guys are ready for Saturday.
You mentioned the success of the chunk plays in the first half, and that's how you got those 2 scores. But once you get into the red zone, what's one thing this team might be missing in terms of being able to convert some of those red zone trips into touchdowns?
Yeah, that's the first thing I was saying the whole time. I mean, in the first half, it's just, man, we can't kick field goals. We can't kick field goals, and we know that. And I think, again, that the biggest thing is just being more efficient in the run game, right? That'll help you out down there. The DBs aren't going to back up as much the closer you get to the red zone, and pressure and all those kind of things start presenting itself a lot more, just trying to kick you out of field goal range. So we got to be more efficient, to me, and not call some of the shot plays. I've been around a long time, and I know the old history of Coach Furrey while he was here, and the turnovers and getting in the red zone and all those things, taking shots and being aggressive and stuff like that, and kind of a world that I wanted to live in and I've always lived in. But at the same time, what's best for our players when we get into those situations, and continuing to just keep moving the ball closer and closer and putting more stress on them than trying to just get a one-hit wonder, play to score a touchdown.
You've obviously been around Lenoris for 2 years, but what was it like the last 3 weeks to kind of be around him almost in every meeting, and what was your role in trying to, I guess, build his confidence and then also build in, his strengths in the game plan?
Yeah, it's when you're a position coach, it's not your job it's your job to continue to love the kids around and the guys on the offense, defense, the whole team. That's your job, right? Still be integrated and have relationships with everybody, but it's not your job to coach anybody outside your room. And so we never really had those conversations leading up until last week. And Lenoris is a young man who is, if he doesn't trust you, there's not a lot of words that come out, right? Which is fine. That's great. He's guarded and he's locked in. He's doing his job. When he trusts you because of conversations or now he starts believing in, he believes in what you're saying, believes in what you're communicating or what he sees and you see, and there's some dialogue. Now all of a sudden there's some communication. That conversation gets a lot bigger. And I think that's been the biggest thing over the last 2 weeks with Lenoris and I, has been able to communicate on the phone when he's away from the building, and what do you like, and what's. And also I told him too, now listen, this isn't going to be like, hey, we're going to do everything you want. Like, you're still a young kid in college that still needs to learn and develop as a player. So, there's going to be things that you might like, but there's going to be things I'm going to tell you that this is not what we do successful. So we need to do this. And I think there was a relationship that we started building of, okay, I see that, and hey, I'm not going to be able to get away with everything, and this is what we're going to do to help the team. And so I think that relationship grew a lot over the last 2 weeks and all the way into today at practice. I thought today at practice and this morning he spoke to our wideouts about some plays that he wants to get done and what's he demanding, and I think those are all steps for him from a leadership role that we're pushing him to become. Right, and I know it's a short period, but I think when you're the leader of this football program, which quarterbacks are, right, that they instantly have to be the leader. Then everybody around you has to believe in what you're saying or believe in what your actions are preaching, and so we're working on that as well. Not just throwing the ball, not just reading keys. It's a full development thing that I think has definitely expanded over the last 2 weeks, and I've had fun with it because I've just gotten the whole, a couple of words here and there, and, we go paintball and do some stuff like that, but it's still not a, hey, we need to do this or you need to do that from a mechanic standpoint. It's just, a relationship and a respectful relationship. But it's been a lot of fun, and he's been very, very receptive. I think some of the throws that he threw in that game at A&M, I think the throw to his brother in the first half on a third and long, staying in that pocket and throwing the corner route to Pup. I think the ball he actually threw to Harbor at the end of the game, standing in that pocket and throwing that thing on time. Those are things that he has continued to get better at. And one of it's, trusting the guys up front, trusting what's being called, and executing. And so those will be things that we'll continue to work on here as we finish out these next 2 weeks, and we're not going to put our, we're not going to take our foot off him at all, or any of these guys. And our job is to continue to develop them and get them ready and prepared and get them to play as best they can play on Saturday.
Mike, you mentioned you've done play calling a long time. Hindsight's always 20/20. Said looking at that A&M game, the 4th and 1 that went to Fuller and he got squashed behind the line. How much was that a turning point in that game?
I think it's just really was just the icing on the cake of the turning point of the game. I think there was some moments. I think the guys started feeling a little bit. This was my decision last week. Do I go in the box? We had talked about it. Do I go in the box or do I stay on the field? And one of the things is when you don't stay on the field, it's hard to vocalize, motivate, gather, encourage, collaborate, and all those things collectively. And that's hard to do when you're not there. And that's just something that I pride myself on in regards to making sure, hey, settling guys down, and this is what we got to do. And so I think the lack of execution started that build already. And then getting the ball back so fast sometimes, and then all of a sudden doing it again with just some of that lack of execution. And I think there was some disappointment in there too. There was some guys, we had some opportunities where guys were open and we just missed them or we didn't get to it, for whatever reason. And so I think that was just a collective of things that were just keep adding on. And then the 4th and 1 obviously was kind of like the icing on it. And it's a learning lesson. It's a hard learning lesson to learn. And we'll be better from it. But trust me, there's nobody in that stadium that wanted that 4th and 1 or the 3rd and 2 or the 2nd and 1 more than anybody for these kids than our staff. And so we just got to do better and put our guys in a better situation to handle that. And we'll do that moving forward.
How have you seen Nick progress throughout the season and making some of the big catches downfield and obviously having the big day on Saturday? Yeah,
you guys know I'm pretty close with Nick, and I've really enjoyed watching him develop as much as a lot of these other young men that have developed their careers. But to see this young man do what he's done and continue to be consistent week in and week out, maybe not having the productivity that he's wanted week in and week out, and then to watch him catch that ball and run, I think everybody sat there and said, hey, this is what we were waiting on. And what a great thing for him to finally happen. And it was great for him to, I think people are all excited about him turning around and outrunning 4 people. I think the most impressive part of it is him seam releasing the route, getting vertical, unbelievable in the transition, finding the hole in the zone, coming back to the ball, snatching it like there was nothing else, no concern, and then turning around and understanding where the defenders were at. Like, that's development, right? That's been the increase in his game. And so then he ran out of the tunnel. So, but I'm really super proud of him that he got an opportunity to do that on Saturday, and look forward to getting him back and getting him healthy and continue that journey.
Going back to your response to David's question, I was going to ask you about that because you're such a presence on the sideline.
Yeah.
How do you sort of close that gap now? And for Coastal, I guess, because it's limiting when you're in the booth in terms of what you were doing all season.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to Jordan's question too. It's again building those relationships now in a different manner from a leadership role throughout the week, right? Under them understanding why we're calling things, or hey, we missed this, and hey, we're just off. And we sat here on Sunday after the game, and we went through basically the entire second half, and everybody collectively basically said this was us. Like, it was nothing that A&M did. It was everything was us, and so that's one, you have to understand that, and you got to understand that we are capable of doing these things, and then you continue to build those leaders in those individual rooms so that you can get them all on the headset, during the drive and say, hey, 16, hey, go grab such and such, and let's get these guys together. Go rally these guys up. Look at the iPad. Hey, well, this is what we need to do, or this is our adjustment. Let's get these guys going, and then when we huddle that thing up before we take that field, everybody's in agreement that we're going out and going to work, and let's just execute and stay a little bit more fine-tuned on the details. And so that's just, we got to build that during the week. I think Coach Elliott and Coach Blackwell do a phenomenal job of that. We all know Coach Elliott a lot longer than Coach Blackwell, and his energy and his leadership is a bigger role now too. He's taken on a different ownership with the tight ends and O-line, and now us kind of being separated, me being upstairs and him at the downstairs, him being able to collect all those guys. But we still need to build those leaders, right, that can get those guys together and are comfortable saying, hey, let's go to work. Let's clean this up. Hey, did you see that? Let's fix that. Hey, we're this close. Let's get this next drive. Hey, let's go get one score here, right here, and put the game away. That's all part of growth. And I do see that, and I felt it, and I've seen more of it this week in practice, and I think that's definitely heading in the right direction.
Mike, you mentioned some of the trick plays that you guys ran in that game. How much of a focal point was that in putting together the game plan for this A&M game, and then running that one on I think it was like that Philly special type of play that Brian throws that pass to Lenore.
Yeah.
How good was it to see that get executed right out of the gate?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't carry too many of them because you got to have equity in the play, and you got to rep that play, and you got to make these guys comfortable in any situation. But I think it's really just misdirection stuff, right? And you're really just trying to create some misdirection. I think gadget plays creates camaraderie, guys having fun, guys talking trash. One guy's, somebody's throwing it that shouldn't be throwing it, and somebody's catching it probably that shouldn't be catching it, or somebody's blocking. So I think there's always fun. I learned that from my times in Chicago, which was carried over from Kansas City. I mean, you guys all see what those guys do in KC, and they're doing all this stuff in the huddle and all those things like that when they've been real successful, and they make that stuff up during the week. Same thing like we did in Chicago a little bit with Nags. And so, and it just creates camaraderie amongst the team a little bit as you go through practice. And so it's not just monotonous of, the zones and just the pass pro and things like that. And so it's been a lot of fun, and it's good to see those things be successful. You better have some nerve to call them, which is no problem when you start believing in them because you've practiced them enough, but you can't have a huge quantity of them. All right, guys, thank you.